Hi there, I am Sarah Colas. Welcome to the Dressing Up podcast, where we talk about all things bridal, dresses, and general dressing up topics. I love to encourage women to dress up while expressing their personal style with confidence on how to do so. Visit sarahcolas.com to book a bridal alterations fitting or even inquire about designing the custom couture bridal gown of your dreams. I'm so excited to talk to you about this next topic. Let's get started. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with, my goodness, it's already our fourth episode of this series where I'm interviewing real brides that I've worked with in the past. They come back in, we chit-chat all about their wedding, all about the details, and I love that so much. I've been doing this job since 2012, and for years and years, it's very common that, well, I feel like I'm such like a big part of the bride's wedding planning process during her fittings and things, and I just get to know her so well. And then I send her off for a wedding and never hear from her again, which is totally normal and fine. But now I am so enjoying this experience of being able to chat with my brides after the wedding and actually hear how everything turned out. So this has been just great fun. So today I'm interviewing some fabulous women. As always, we have bride Gwen, Kayla, and Rina. So we start off with bride Gwen. It's so funny. So I know I just gave that whole spiel, but I actually have seen Gwen post her wedding. Gosh, such a fabulous woman. She came in recently for me to alter some bridesmaid dresses. And while she was picking up the bridesmaid dresses, I was like, you know what? Do you want to just kind of hop on over onto the podcast, like right here, right now? Let's do a quick little interview. So she agreed. So it was just a very spontaneous conversation. And it was so much fun. She's just such a wonderful person. Oh, it was just great. And then bride Kayla, she is the cutest, bubbly bride. She got her gown from Becker's. Her wedding was in Traverse City. She had so many fun personalizations throughout her wedding. And we also discussed a very special item that was on her registry. Oh, you need to listen to that part. Oh, so great. So great. And then last but not least, we have bride Rina, and her and I talk about how to best utilize the strengths of the community around you. So we hear so often as a bride, the wedding's coming up and people are like, how can I help? How can I help? What can I do for you? What can I do? And it's so easy to say, oh, no, we're fine. We've got everything handled. But you don't. We all don't have everything handled. But it is really difficult to have people help you. I totally get it. Because sometimes, especially with certain personalities, sometimes asking someone to help you with something kind of causes more work than it actually helps. But Rina and I kind of chat through how to best utilize the strengths of each and every one of those people. And then we just had a fabulous conversation reminiscing about her special day. So without further ado, let's get started with bride Gwen. This is very spontaneous. I have Gwen here, bride Gwen, wife Gwen now, and you were just in here altering a few bridesmaid dresses.
Yes.
And you came early, and I thought, let's hop on the podcast.
I love it.
Yay.
I love it.
Okay, so can you introduce yourself to our listeners, please, and tell us, when was your wedding?
My wedding, we got married. It was my third wedding, and we were married in November of 22, which was fantastic. We did a getaway wedding, and we were in Playa del Carmen with about 12 family members and friends. It was great.
Such a good time.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's like a vacation and wedding all wrapped into one.
It was magical. I came home on one of the biggest highs of my life from that trip. I really did. It was great.
So good.
Yeah. I got my dress and I was scrambling for a dress.
There's a little drama. Yes.
I was scrambling a little bit for the dress. These two fantastic gals were in there, young gals in there doing a really great job. We went through a bunch of different ones and we found this one. It was perfect for me, but it was small on me, but they could zip it up. So they said, I think it can be altered. And I said, okay, great. Who's going to alter it? And they said, you know what? We got this gal. She can do anything. We'll call her right now. I'm telling you, she can do anything. She'll do it. And I'm like, okay, great. So they called you. And I am stuffed in this dress like crazy. And I heard them talking on the phone and you asked them questions and I could hear them answering. And they went, yes, she's in it. Yes, it's zipped up. Okay, great. Yeah. I'll let her know. And that was it. And then I got to meet you.
I love that story so much. So the gown was from Becker's Bridal. I get the phone call. So we both remember this phone call. I love it. And it was just a matter of days. We altered the dress. It did zip. So that's always a key thing. When people ask me, can the dress be let out? First question I always ask is, can it zip? Because if it can zip, then it's decently easy from there, 99.9% of the time. So just some little bit of tweaking and sent you on your way.
Oh, it was
went and got married.
beautiful. Yes, I remember coming in to meet you, and it was at your other studio. Loved it. And I was in it, and you're going, yes, we can do this. We can do the bustles on the back. They're going to look like this. And when I picked up that dress, I could not believe how beautiful it was. And I wasn't going to show anybody, but my best friend, God love her, I had to send her a picture because I had sent her prior pictures of other dresses. And she had once said to her husband, how do I tell her that does not look good on her? And I said, oh, please always tell me. And I sent her that picture from your salon when I picked it up, and she went, it's perfect. It is absolutely perfect for you.
I'm so
It was
glad.
wonderful. And it was so comfortable and just perfectly done. I honestly, I brag about you all the time to anybody who will listen. I love it.
Thank you, Gwen. I appreciate that so much. People like you are the reason I love my job.
I love it.
Okay, so this next question, my listeners, I'm sure already know what question I'm about to ask, but before I even ask it, I already know what I think the answer might be, or what I want the answer to be. And it is, what is your favorite item in your closet right now? And I have to say, I think it's your sweater. Can it be your sweater?
Yes. I mean, oh, goodness gracious, Coldwater Creek. I love it. Yeah.
You walked in today with this, for those listening, not on YouTube, this beautiful sweater that has a fox on it. It's like the most gorgeous sweater ever. I love it. But anyway, back to the actual question. We are in the Dressing Up podcast after all, so I like to ask more fashion related questions in addition to the wedding stuff.
For sure.
And it is, what is your favorite item in your closet right now?
My favorite item in my closet right now, number one, is my Levi's. I have never owned Levi's in my life until like 2 months ago. I thought, you know what, I'm going to give them a try. And I bought 2 pairs, I think at Macy's, and I have a 3rd pair right now. Levi's are so dang comfortable. It's crazy how comfortable they are. They look fantastic. They're classic. I absolutely love them.
I'm a fan too.
Yeah.
I feel like they need to take this blurb and use it in an advertisement for their store.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I know.
Do you know what style they were?
I think one is a slim fit. The other one's a mid-rise, I think bootleg.
Okay.
And then another pair that I have, I think is more along the bootleg because I can't get into the flares yet.
Okay.
I'm just
we need time to adjust.
I need a little bit. I love them on other people. I'm just not sure. I'm short. So I always feel like that's going to just chop me a little.
They need it. They need to be just the right flare. I feel like right now jeans are like all over the place. I don't even know. Like I know skinnies are technically out, although I still wear them, but it seems like anything goes right now.
Right.
Really.
Yes.
Okay. Back to wedding stuff.
Okay.
If you could relive one moment on your wedding day, when would that be?
When would that be? You know what? Really and truly what it was is my husband is a big talker. He gets words mixed up. I call them Bradisms. Like it's crazy stuff he'll say. And he said he was going to speak at the dinner off the cuff. And I was like, oh, I don't think this is going to go very well.
You're like, oh, okay.
You can't tell him, no, you can't speak. You can't do it this way, do
right,
it that way.
Right,
you got to just let him.
Let him do it.
He got up. And we had all eaten and we had music playing. It was a beautiful restaurant in Playa del Carmen. What was really great about it is he stood at the end of the table where my best friend that I grew up with, she was right there and her husband was right there. And my husband had his hand on his shoulder the whole entire time. And he spoke beautifully.
Oh my gosh.
Beautifully about everybody there, beautiful about our relationships and how, we're older. So when you start a new marriage, he did such a really great job. And I listen to it every now and again because it really is something he was so heartfelt about. Yeah, I love it. That was one of the best moments.
Better.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah.
So good. What was the most challenging aspect of wedding planning?
Well, my mom was not well at the time. So most of it was planned online with some really fabulous people in Mexico. We rented a beautiful house on the beach. So the concierge for the house was a beautiful woman. She found the minister for us. We fell in love with the minister. The people that we had come and do cocktails and appetizers were chefs that came with the house. And everybody was like, you've known them forever. It was so fantastic. So that made that part simple because at the time I was sitting with my mom for 6 weeks while she was dying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first off, to be there with mom, listen to music with her that we were picking and wedding dresses and stuff like that. So that was a tough part about it. And unfortunately, we did lose her. But once everybody was there, family and friends, it really was perfect. Yeah.
That's
It
great.
turned out nice.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to spend that time with her.
Yes, it
and
was wonderful.
being able to like have the back end of wedding planning moving along and be able to pause life when you need to pause to take care of things.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. I think we already touched on this a little bit, but I'll ask again. How did you feel in your wedding dress on your wedding day?
You know what? I got ready with my best friend for the last 30 years, and she's absolutely gorgeous. She's also very fashionable. She was a beautiful bride, stunning. But being with her and getting ready with her, we had a balcony of the house that I could stand and I can see everybody down below. With that anticipation of, oh, look, everybody's here, everybody's having a good time. And one of the funniest things we did, I wanted to have two of our buddies do the bride look, the first look, but I wanted two of our buddies in wedding dresses, and they were going to be there instead of me. And Brad would turn around. I thought, oh, this will be great, hilarious, right? The guys got their wedding dresses. They picked out veils. It was hilarious. And these are two retired police officers. I said to Brad a couple of days before, we're sitting out by the table. I said, hey, I want to do the first look. I don't want to cry. And he goes, absolutely not. I'm like, and he said, no, we're not doing that, Gwen. And I'm like, oh, sugar. How am I going to get him to commit to this? And Tracy was sitting with me. He was not having it. Later on, after a couple of glasses of wine, my girlfriend and I went, okay, well, the boys are going to have to be flower girls. So everybody's up front. Tracy and I are back still. It's on the beach. Pews are lined up. The minister's up front. She had Brad facing forward. His son, who stood up for him, was facing, outwards. And music's playing at a great playlist. And all of a sudden, the song Bad Boys comes on. And Tyler's going, Dad, did you pick this song? No, I don't know what's going on. And then his daughter's like, Dad, turn around. And he turned around, and his two buddies are in these wedding dresses with veils, with petals, throwing petals.
Oh my goodness.
It was a good laugh. The pictures are phenomenal. And then from there, the boys went and changed, come back in the pews, and then Tracy and I came in. It was wonderful. Yeah, it was great.
Oh my gosh, you're like, we're making this happen one way or another.
Yeah,
you're going to see your friends.
Yeah. Oh, it was wonderful.
Oh,
good stuff.
That is so good.
Yeah.
I love being playful like that with wedding stuff. That's so fun.
It was wonderful.
Do you have anyone you want to thank?
You know what? Everybody that came, the people that were there and who could make it. I mean, some people could make it. I understand that it's a destination wedding, right? But every single person that came is a huge part of my life and has been for probably 40 years. Brad's two kids were there. It was phenomenal. They had a great time with people they'd never met before, all adults being silly and crazy and dancing and laughing. And yeah, it was just all so precious. It really was just so fantastic.
That's so good.
Yes.
Now, it's been a couple years now since your wedding. What has life looked like post-wedding?
You know what? Pretty good. There are learning bumps, and there's going to be. Brad was divorced. I've been widowed. So for the two of us, you've got to build your family again, and you've got to build a life and understand somebody and be patient and kind. And you know what? It's been good, but there are challenges. There are challenges in marriage. I don't care if you've been together 30 years, 40 years, 2 years. Marriage is work. And it's really great when you find that really great person to do the work with. You just find joy after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was so profound. I love it. Oh, thank you so much, Gwen. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything about your wedding or?
Now, I mean, you and I have talked about my wedding dress that you did the work with. I really want to get it redone, restyle it with you. We briefly talked about it.
Yes, I would love to.
I've watched you with your Instagram and such, and all the brides that have come with their mother's dresses for their night before party. Oh my gosh, I love it that these dresses are being used.
I know.
And I did try to sell mine, and I'm shocked it didn't sell because it's such a beautiful dress. It cleaned beautifully.
Everything happens for a reason.
Right. So now what I want to do is redesign it, and I want to dye it. So I'm going to figure out how to do that. I'm not quite sure. And I'd love Brett and I to go back to Playa del Carmen and have pictures done again. And I'll wear the dress, and he can wear his outfit. It was great Tommy Bahama linens, right? That were absolutely beautiful. So that's what
How fun would that be? So full circle.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. So good. Well, thank you so much, Gwen, for being spontaneous with me here.
I love it.
So good to see you today.
Yes.
And thanks so much.
My pleasure. I am so proud of you and everything you've done. And this is fantastic. I'm so proud to be able to be here with you.
Thank you, Gwen.
You're
Love
welcome.
it. And next up, we have bride Kayla. All right, and we're back here. We've got bride Kayla with us today. So Kayla, can you introduce yourself for us? And when did you get married?
I got married November 2nd. We got married in Traverse City. We are from the Alpena area, both of us. We didn't know each other in high school because he's 4 years older, so we were never in high school together, but we met after that. We met at a fishing festival in northern Michigan, which is
Very
just,
nice.
Typical northern Michigan
So romantic.
activity. But it's the Big Brown Trout Festival, if anyone has ever heard of it. And they do a big rock show one night, and they have like a band and live music and everything. And I drank a little bit with my friends on the way there. We biked. And then I saw him, he asked me to dance, and then that was pretty much it.
That is so cute. Oh my goodness. I love that. So, as we are on the Dressing Up podcast after all, and I don't like to talk about weddings 100% of the time because we have a lot of, I'm going to say wives that listen to this podcast post-wedding. So, what is your favorite item in your closet right now?
I would say right now I'm really into neck scarves.
Ooh,
which
okay.
is not a trending thing necessarily, but my bachelorette party was like cowgirl kind of themed. And one of the girls some of us wore bandanas and things like that, but she wore like this cute little neck scarf. And I was like, that's such a good idea. And why do I never think to accessorize in that way? And I mean, I love headbands and a lot of jewelry and pulling in different elements from your outfit and putting them into your accessories and things like that. So I've gotten really into neck scarves. It's a cheap way to accessorize. I just, kind of roll it up and tie it around. And I have quite a few now that I've kind of started to collect. I got one that has a little S on it for Schulke, which is like my last name now. I think you just think of it as like your necklace or maybe in place of a headband. I don't always do both because sometimes I feel like that's too much. But sometimes if I'm really wanting to like amp it up, I might wear both. But I have a lot of different ones with a lot of different colors.
This is why I love this question.
Yeah.
We learn something new, and everyone has their own sense of style.
Yeah.
That's amazing. There was something I'm remembering from our fittings, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I really want to talk about it. There was something you put on your registry that I thought was really interesting. Am I correct that you put a sewing machine on your registry?
Yes. I forgot we talked about this. And it's funny because we talked about paperman fabrics or whatever. I've been getting the alerts, and I finally just saw one for a Learn to Sew event. So I'm probably going to try to do that one.
I hope you do.
But yes, my sister actually ended up buying it for me.
Did.
Nobody's going to buy this, $200 item on my registry. Most people are buying the smaller items. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it appeared, and I called my sister, and she's like, yeah, I bought this for you. So it was very, very sweet. She thought it was kind of a fun gift for herself too, because then she can learn the sewing through me. And if she wants to get her own sewing machine, she can. So hopefully we can kind of learn it together. She doesn't live right in the area, but I'll kind of try to learn what I can and go from there. Yeah, I'm really excited. I've been dipping my toe in a little bit. It's a lot of accumulating supplies.
Oh, yes.
I feel like I'm like, okay, I don't even know the names of all the things, but I'm like, I need one of those like fabric cutters.
Okay.
Like instead of just scissors, because I feel like I don't always have very clean lines. Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't know. There's just all these little.
There's like a million ways to cut something, I swear.
Yeah.
I was really excited when you told me that because I have not heard of someone putting a sewing machine on their registry probably in decades. Yes. Like this is just not a normal thing. And gosh, I could do like a whole podcast episode on this, but I always feel like people should have a sewing machine on their registry. You're getting married, you should be able to alter your clothes a little bit. And I think that when people think about putting a sewing machine on the registry, it's a little like anti-feminist, shall I say? But my take is, well, why are you assuming that the woman would be the one sewing? The men can sew too. So I don't like that assumption.
I'm excited. He's like, oh, I got this hole in my jeans, and I'm like, oh, perfect. This is a great opportunity. I'm like, I can try to
practice my skills. Yes. Careful. You don't want all your friends and family to know you're doing this because they'll give you everything to fix. That. I know from experience, but in a way it is good practice, but you don't want to make too much of a habit of it. Yes. Okay, so back to the wedding stuff. I'm going to just rattle off a bunch of personal touches that you had at your wedding that I absolutely loved. So first of all, you both wore matching Converse shoes. You did homemade dog treats as favors.
Yes, I made those.
Of course you did. Okay, I love this one. Cootie catchers with fun questions on the guest tables.
Yes. So this was just kind of a random thing. I don't even think I saw it anywhere. I just I was sitting by the TV one day and I had kind of done some other planning things and I wanted a new activity. And I actually used cardstock, so they were of a little bit like better material. And I looked up a bunch of random questions. So it might be like pancakes or waffles, or Michigan versus Michigan State, like that kind of stuff. Or it might be really random, like, I don't know, would you rather have a circle house or a star house? Or I don't know. They were just like really random kind of questions, but we had those on the table and people were able to,
So it was to act kind of as the icebreaker, maybe?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So like kind of during cocktail hour for people to like play and,
I love that.
Kind of fun.
That's amazing. I was a big cootie catcher girl when I was a kid.
Me too. I'm like, I gotta find another, way to bring these back.
Yeah. As if you didn't have enough to do wedding planning. You would get bored, right?
I know.
So you did a dance with both of the mothers. So you
Yes.
both danced with your mothers. Love that. You did a bubble exit. How fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then you did local ingredients for dinner. So your wedding was in Traverse City. So you did like...
There was local Traverse City whiskey in the beef brisket. There was local honey in the honey carrots. Oh, we had like a local Traverse City cherry salad. We liked that there were a lot of personal touches. And, we had a lot of people that traveled from all over the country. Probably a lot of them have never been to Northern Michigan or Michigan at all, to kind of experience some of those little local touches was nice.
That's so great. If you could relive one moment on your wedding day, when would that be?
So I did cry a lot when this happened, but we moved down to Nashville we were there for almost 5 years, and we went to this place called the Listening Room, which has artists. They're actually writers who a lot of times end up only kind of writing for big artists. They don't often ever sing the songs themselves. So she played this song, and it was Valentine's Day. This was like probably maybe 6 years ago. And I just burst into tears. Like, we're at the front of this venue, we're watching her singing this song, and she's just a writer. She's not anybody who we wouldn't have heard of. And so we both really connected to the song. We went up to her after and we asked her when the song was going to be out. And she said she was selling it, or she was in the process of negotiating with some pretty big name people. It ended up being sold to Matt Stell, and it did get the number one on the country charts. The song's called Prayed for You. So you can take a listen later.
Wow.
But he actually reached out to her, and I had no idea about any of this. He reached out to her and got her to record her version with her singing it, because we've always said we love his version. It's the version that was released. We've never been able to hear her version again other than that one night. And he reached out to her. She sent it to him. Like, he offered money and she refused. So he said, I have a surprise for you. We were about to go do our first dance to his version of the song. And the DJ kind of starts talking and telling about this story of when we were at this venue. And I'm just like, something is going to happen here. And like, I know I'm not going to be able to hold it together. And, the DJ announced that he was able to get this recording for her. And so her version played and we danced to it. And I just bawled the entire time. And he said, do I get brownie points for this? Like, while we're dancing, as I'm like bawling. Aww. And I'm like, you get brownie points forever. I'm like, anytime anything ever comes up, like you just hold up that song. And I'm like, okay, you're right. That is
so cute.
Yes, it was really surprising. Looking back on it now, I still can't even believe that he did all of that. So I would relive that moment again with blubbering tears.
That is so good. With grooms, especially, usually a lot of the brides are planning a lot of the wedding. So I think honestly, and my groom said this too on our wedding day, he's like, the wedding day was just full of surprises, because he didn't know what I was like planning in detail. But it's rare that the bride is surprised by the groom. So grooms, listen up.
Yes.
Put a little small surprise into your wedding day somehow for your bride. Mm-hmm. Look at her. I mean, it's just making such a special moment.
Yes.
What was the most challenging aspect of wedding planning?
I think really it's those last couple weeks that end up being the worst. I enjoyed most of the process, which not everyone does, but I'm a big planner, so I really enjoyed the planning aspect of it. And I think it was fun to pick out different things and look up a lot of different venues and caterers and things like that. But I think those last 2 weeks, when everyone wants something from you, there's a lot of last minute things that come up. Like, I had multiple family members in the last couple of weeks either say that they weren't coming or they decided to come, and it was literally like a week before the wedding. So I had a whole table of like 7 guests that I didn't know about until a week before. So I had to add an additional table.
Oh my God.
And renegotiate with the caterer and kind of pay the additional, all of that. So I think those last 2 weeks end up being the hardest part, and it kind of makes it not as fun. So I was a little bit like, even though I enjoyed the whole process up those last 2 weeks, I was ready to get married. I was like, okay, let's do this, because I cannot with anybody coming at me with any more last minute things. So I think if you can just, push through those last little bit, it's worth it once you get to the wedding and everything's beautiful and perfect and amazing, just like you planned. But those last couple of weeks when everyone is coming calling are definitely the most challenging.
Yes. Yes. And the week before the wedding, or the weeks leading up to the wedding, the day of the wedding, people asking you questions.
Yes.
What time's this? What are we doing next? When are we doing this? Oh, it's so overwhelming.
Yes.
Do not ask the bride and groom any questions.
No.
Okay. No questions, especially on the wedding day, the day before, the week of. Just don't ask any questions. What is it like as a teacher? It's like ask 3 before me. Do that.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a great,
Yeah.
remember that one.
Yes. Okay. So Kayla, I did your wedding dress alterations. Loved your gown. We did a decent amount of alterations, and I think it turned out beautifully. And I want to know, how did you feel in your wedding dress on your wedding day?
I mean, it was absolutely perfect. It fit perfectly. I felt more beautiful than I've ever felt in my life. I truly would wear it every day. Like, I got it
As you
after,
should.
and like we got back home after like our honeymoon, and I was finally kind of getting things organized and stuff. And I was looking at it and I'm like, should I just try it on? I didn't, but because I wanted to get it mailed out so I could get it cleaned and everything. But I loved it. And I think everyone should feel that way about their wedding dress. I felt so beautiful. And yeah, it had pockets, which was amazing. So like I kept whipping out my handkerchief, like anytime I like was crying,
so
like even in the middle of like the ceremony while we're, because, which was so great. So I'm just like, this is great. Pockets are great. I highly recommend. But I mean, your alterations were perfect. I was tucked in nice and,
nice and snatched.
And everything fit perfectly. It was perfect. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you. And I know that we're going to be chopping it up soon. So Kayla and I have already discussed that she's going to be bringing her dress back in after it's done being cleaned.
Yes.
And we're going to chop off the train and turn it into a Christmas tree skirt.
Yes.
So you'll have it for every Christmas from here on out, and you'll be able to pull out your wedding dress every holiday season and get to reminisce on that special day.
And who knows, with it being a little shorter without the train, maybe I can wear it again in a few years, maybe a little renewal or something.
Yes. Because most often than not, when I make a Christmas tree skirt, I really am just using the train. So the whole top half of your dress does stay intact. So, and with how big your train was, I think you can get a decent size dress still out of it.
I think so too.
Yeah. So that'll be good. And I like that you're doing it for your very first, well, actually it'll technically be your second Christmas.
Okay. But that's okay.
We tried.
I think it's so cool what you also do with the teddy bears.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the outfits.
Yeah.
I honestly like went really back and forth. I was like, oh my God, do I do this too? Or do I reach out and see if we can switch it? I love both of the ideas. And I still really do. I think like it's just, it's such a unique way to preserve.
The way we'll cut it, there will be like scrap. I'll save everything. So if you like, I'm even thinking if there's any potential future babies in the future and you get a teddy bear, and we could like make a little dress out of your wedding dress as like a gift to your baby or something, that'd be special.
I will definitely remember that.
Yeah. I was always thinking it's for like the kids at heart adults, but like that would be a really cute gift for like a little baby. But anyway, everything about your wedding just sounds so fabulous.
I want to thank my mom and my fiance's mother, Rhonda and Kathy, especially for everything they did in helping make our wedding so perfect. And of course, my darling husband, Ryan. He went along with every crazy whim that I had. And because of that, our wedding was perfectly us. So I want to thank them both, and my sister too. She was the most perfect maid of honor, and I'm excited to step into that role for her someday.
Oh, so sweet. Well, thank you so much for being here, Kayla. Thank you for allowing me to alter your dress and trusting me in that process, and then trusting me again soon to chop it up again. So I'm excited to see you again in March.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kayla. And now we have bride Rina. Okay, yay. We have another special guest here. Can you introduce yourself for us and tell us, when was your wedding?
So my name's Rina Sistrunk, and my wedding was in April of 2023.
Yay. Yes. How was it? How did everything go?
It was awesome. cliche sentence. It just went so fast.
Yes, right. It just flies by.
So I was really glad when it was over because there was a lot of people. And so
Yeah.
I got to we went straight to the hotel and before we flew out for our honeymoon, and it was amazing. It really
That's
was.
so good. I'm so
Yeah.
glad to hear. Where did you get your dress from?
So I got my dress from David's Bridal.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. And tell us a little bit about what it looked like for our audience.
Okay, my dress is very lacy, very big. I mean, it wasn't big like this kind of big, but it was just like whoosh, kind of big.
Yeah.
And it
A
had
very large A-line, I would say. Maybe.
yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. And it was a what do they call it? Like one of those invisible necklines, but it was like filled in with all the lace.
An
And
illusion neckline
yeah,
with the
illusion
trickle
neckline,
lace.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. And it had all the lace and and it had this like subtle sparkle to it, and it was just beautiful.
Oh, I'm so glad. I know for your alterations, we did all the standard alterations, but I think we added some lace in as well. So I really like that opportunity we have with lace dresses is that we can just add lace wherever we feel like adding it if we
Yeah.
need to. So that's great. Okay, so as we are on the Dressing Up podcast, after all, I ask this question to all my guests. What is your favorite item in your closet right now?
I'd have to say at all times, my favorite item is probably my wrap skirts. So I have like these silk wrap skirts that kind of have like a double layer. And if I want them to be warmer for the winter, I just put layers underneath.
Oh my
Because
gosh,
they're so
yes.
vibrant, and I have like this bright blue one that like reminds me of corals, like coral
Oh.
reefs almost. Like
Where did you get them from?
I got it from Orchid Lane. I don't know if they're open anymore. I haven't looked into whether they're still open because I know the store that I went to get them originally was like before the pandemic, and there was a lot of businesses in that area that had closed down after that. So I was kind of like a little sad. But that was one of the ones that had left, unfortunately. Maybe they're still out there. So if anybody else finds one, Orchid Lane.
Yes, very good. Oh, I love that. Okay, so if you could relive one moment on your wedding day, when would that be?
Okay, in the wedding, we did a hand washing and kind of like a foot washing, but your hands instead. At the moment of us trying to do the hand washing, we had like this pitcher that we were using, and we realized there was no water in the pitcher.
Oh my gosh.
And
oh no.
I think I would just relive that moment because it was hysterical.
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh,
think
no.
like all of the nerves after that kind of like it was like, okay, it is what it is. We're just going for it. Rest of the wedding is gonna be, fun and fine.
This is our one hiccup and we're moving on.
Exactly. Even the pictures, that is our favorite picture of us. They got a picture of us right when we realized, and it was just like, yep, this is what it is.
So did anybody go get water for you or anything, or just
Yeah, my father-in-law, he took somebody else's water because we were like looking at each other, and at first we were thinking, should we just pretend,
Yeah,
whatever?
what do we
And my
do?
father-in-law was standing right there, and he just like reached over and grabbed somebody else's water. Nobody else knew that this happened, and he's like, "You're gonna really want to wash your hands after this."
Oh my goodness. All the things, there's so many moving parts. There's so many things that have to happen perfectly for everything to go smoothly. It's just truly impossible to have all these tiny, tiny things go correctly.
Right,
But that's a
right.
funny one. Oh, how fun. What has been the most challenging aspect of wedding planning?
So for me, I was not the dreamer when it came to weddings specifically. I'm a dreamer, but I did not dream about weddings. Getting married was not my plan originally. So I think being overwhelmed with just how many different aspects to a wedding to like think about, from not just the dress, but like colors and plates and, reception type stuff. And also just like what people do on different sides of the family, like for tradition. So I didn't really have any wedding traditions that I could particularly think of, except that you're walking down an aisle.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I started doing research from the like, what do people do at weddings? And I think that was a little overwhelming at first. So that was probably the hardest part. And then delegating. So having people help, and actually people wanted to help, and I had a hard time asking for help. So I think that was probably the second hardest thing.
Yeah, delegating can be hard. I think for a couple of reasons, because I feel like sometimes when you ask someone for help, they end up asking so many questions on how to do the thing that it almost makes it just easier to do it yourself sometimes. So I think asking the right people the right tasks.
Yeah, right task and also just asking in the right way. For me, I gathered my ideas and then I said, this is what I need you to do when I was able to ask for help. Or I had some, like my sister-in-law was very helpful and she's like, what do you need? She like sat down with me because I'm like, I don't know what I need. And she was like, did you think about this? Did you think about that? I was like, nope. I didn't even know that existed. And so there were a couple of people that were just very helpful in kind of getting me to think about certain things. And then when I was ready, I came back to them and said, okay, this is what I need, like actually, now that I've thought about it.
Yeah, very good. I think it's also important to delegate before the wedding day, but also on the wedding day. If there's something that's like my grandma's rosary needs to be taken to the church, like someone needs to transport that item, just tell someone on the spot. Look at one of the bridesmaids and be like, you are in charge of making sure this gets transported. And it's very easy to not do that and just like, oh, I'll just put it in my bag. I'll do it myself. No, you have people around, just boss them around. This is the one day of your life where you have guilt-free bossing abilities.
Honestly, it's also just like a stress remover for the day of
Yes.
because our wedding ring is, engagement and wedding band set. So I had my husband take the rings and he was in charge, but because I couldn't see him, obviously I was getting ready. And so I couldn't just like see him before. I was like texting him. I was like, do you have the ring? Do you have the ring? Did you forget the ring? Like I started freaking out so much. Not that I didn't trust that he would have had it, but I just, it's the last day and you're like, or it's the day, not the last day.
But he did have the rings.
He did.
Okay, good.
Yes, he did have the rings and it was all good.
That's good.
I was stressing out for no reason.
Oh my goodness. I want to ask you this question. How did you feel in your wedding dress on your wedding day?
Oh, beautiful. I loved it. I didn't have the veil on when we did the alterations. So the first time I had the veil on was when I was at David's bridal and I was trying on the dress, and that was before alterations. So this was the first time really afterward that I got to have the full outfit on and I had the shoes and all of that stuff. I was just like, yeah, this is happening. I'm kind of ready.
Yeah, I'm kind of ready or not. I'm walking down the aisle.
Right, ready or not, here I come.
Yes.
And it really does set the tone. So yeah, it was really good. And then when I got to see like my family and, for when the revealing and everything like that, it was really special.
That's so good.
I want to thank Felicia, my sister-in-law. So she helped me so much with planning and fabric choices. And obviously I want to thank my maid of honor, Miriam. She was in school in a whole other state throughout the whole engagement period.
I think she came to one of your fittings, right?
Yeah. So we scheduled the second fitting like during her break, and when it was her break, we just like hashed out so many details. So like God bless her so much. But yeah, I definitely want to thank her. And I should thank my hubby because, he handled me during that whole season.
He enjoyed the experience, is how I'd like to word that.
Yeah.
Right?
He definitely helped me with like wedding invites. And there was one time we were putting all the things together and there was a lot of like guests that we had to invite. And one other person I really want to shout out to as well is my female mentor, that's Anna Marie. So she helped me a lot with wedding planning and also just keeping my mental state together and giving me advice. And she's been married, so she was through the process, but I go to her for a lot of advice and she's been so amazing with that.
Okay, very good. Is there anything else you want to talk about or mention? Any particular tips?
Just reiterating that for future brides, or maybe if you're getting married earlier than you thought that you were getting married, or you haven't had all the stuff together, even practice doing life with people. I think nowadays, we've kind of lost touch with what it means to do life together with people, whether it's like going to the grocery store or just like talking to each other. I mean, there are so many people that have different strengths. So just get used to those strengths ahead of time and you'll feel much more confident asking for help in the future.
Kind of like playing off people's strengths of those around you to help.
Yeah, let them help.
Yeah.
They want to help. In fact, like most people will be honored that you thought that they could help you in some way. So it's a blessing to them as much as it is to you.
Yeah, they want to be involved. When
Right.
you're a part of someone else's wedding, to have the bride ask you to do something for her, I mean, that is kind of fun.
I do think traditionally there's this whole thing about what does the groom side do and what does the bride side do. And I did kind of struggle with that because I was getting a lot of help from my in-laws. And I was like, well, technically it's supposed to be the bride that's planning it. But honestly, whatever is going to make the day more special, you can only do so much yourself. And my family is in a whole other area, so they weren't able to necessarily sit down with me and do different things like that all the time. So if you have at least somebody that's close to you, then do that. It doesn't have to be exactly what tradition says, and it can still turn out really special.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody's different. Every couple's different. Every wedding's different. So
Right.
embrace that.
Yeah, exactly.
So good. Were there any other particular moments on your wedding day?
I just remember before I actually walked down the aisle, I had already predetermined. People would say, well, all I could do is look at, the groom, right? And my eyes just like couldn't leave him. I had predetermined that because of the people, I was going to only look at him so that I wouldn't have to look anywhere else.
Yes.
And I remember my dad and I were walking down the aisle and we both were joking about it. We were like, okay, don't get happy feet. Don't get happy feet. Because we were trying to walk really fast. And and the music
It's hard
was
to
really
go slow. Mm-hmm.
And the photographers were all saying, okay, when you exit, don't walk fast. But me and my husband, now husband, right?
Yes.
We were like just about running off.
Yes. You're like, we did it.
We're like, no, slow down, slow down. Yeah, that was fun.
Oh, that's so good. I honestly feel like walking back down the aisle, at least for me, but I've seen it happen at other weddings. I feel like it's just like slightly awkward. Like walking back down the aisle as bride and groom and everyone's just staring at you and like the clapping slowly like disappears. So it's like, I just want to get out.
Right.
Those moments make the best photos though.
Yeah.
Like it feels slightly awkward, but it's like the most incredible photos that you're like, oh, I can feel that moment.
Right. Speaking of photos, we made our guests wait a very long time before we came into the reception because of taking like extra photos outside. We actually had like a whole other thing that we did. He sang a song for me. And he plays the guitar and he made a song. But yeah, we had pictures for that. We had like all these other things. So by the time we finally got into the reception, I think everybody had already eaten all their food. They were all waiting for the cake.
Oh my God. You're like, we need these moments.
Yes. Honestly, my favorite photos came from like the pictures that we set the extra time aside for. So
that's so great. Love that. I'm so glad you came in today. When we did alterations, you were in my previous space. So now it's your first time in the studio. So I'm so glad you came back and we're recording this episode now here, a year and a half later? Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh, so good. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun.
Yay. Thank you all so much for listening. Weren't these chit chats with these brides just so much fun and fabulous? I mean, these women are just so happy and bubbly, all three of them. Just loved it. All right. If you have any questions for me, DM, email, you know what to do. Email is hello@sarahkolis.com, SARAHKOLIS.com. If you're a previous bride I've worked with and would like to be featured on the podcast, we have been sending links out through emails, but if you haven't seen it, I know a lot of you use a wedding email that you never check again after the wedding, which is totally fine, but I want to get a hold of you. So if you haven't seen those emails, just shoot us a DM or an email. We'll get you set up here. But yeah, looking forward to the next podcast episode with another 3 fabulous women. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode has allowed you to approach the world with greater confidence in your own personal style. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out through email or the inquiry form on the website. I hope you are all ready to go and get dressed up. I look forward to sharing more dressing up tips with you in future episodes. Thanks so much.